Hi, Mike. Welcome back to Villanova. How does it feel to be back on campus?
Well, Liam, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back here, and I've got 2 busy days of engaging with the faculty and the students. What excites me about being on campus is the energy you feel here. Oftentimes, alumni are out working a job, in my case, doing some consulting, and you lose touch with the energy that higher ed provides, and certainly the energy that Villanova provides. What I'm tremendously impressed with is the quality of the students, the passion for what they do, and the eagerness to learn.
Mike, let's talk about your involvement with the ICE Center.
Well, the ICE Center, I started being involved with Villanova about 4 years ago. To be candid, I had lost touch with the university living in the Bay Area and my career in raising a family. And I had an opportunity to re-engage about 4 years ago. And as a result of that, we got this notion of this Villanova in the Valley program, which I was very enthusiastic about. And that has recharged my energy of engaging with you and Tu Luscri and Pat Magidi at the university to try to extend that franchise and to try to get a very powerful connection with the university back with the Bay Area.
Mike, you're an alumnus here. What year did you graduate?
1967.
From the Arts and Sciences School?
Yes, I was a psychology major.
And where did you start your career off?
You know, I was fortunate enough to start with IBM. So quite serendipitously, at that time career planning was more of an art form than it was a science. I had an opportunity to interview with IBM, and I got some good advice from my dad. I started IBM right out of school, and I spent 15 years with them.
Mike, what skills and kind of value sets that you learned at Villanova helped you most in those initial 15 years at IBM?
I think Villanova prepared me to think a little bit and to be aware of the environment I'm in and to be a balanced person. There's a balance between academic, personal, business, and value systems. And I walked away when I graduated with my eyes wide open and sometimes surprised at what I was seeing, with, I thought, a balanced view, albeit in some terms naive, about the world of business in my life.
15 years is a long time in technology years. What changed during your time at IBM?
Well, many things changed. The product and technology changed. The way that we went after customers changed. We reorganized, 100,000 people in the division that I was in 2 times while I was at IBM. And interestingly enough, I left IBM in 1983, and there were 406,000 employees.
Wow.
In 1993, there was 210,000 employees. So a lot of the change in moving from a hardware-centric company to a software and services company happened after I left.
And after that, if I'm not mistaken, you moved to smaller organizations?
I did. I had an opportunity. I met a very interesting entrepreneur in Silicon Valley in the mid-1980s. He and I engaged in an opportunity to form a small business and get started. That little company was acquired by another company, which was acquired by another company, and that got me into small businesses. That happened to be a networking company, but I've spent the last 25 years mostly in networking and software.
And what's so exciting about working for a startup, a small technology company in Silicon Valley?
Well, startups have their own life, and as you know, you're from the Bay Area. Startups bring everything that's fresh and new. It's entrepreneurs, it's innovation, it's people with a vision and a passion for doing something, for creating a company. And so you have the enthusiasm and the energy, and you also have the risk. And the other thing that you get a chance to do is typically everybody in a startup company is juggling 8 or 10 balls at the same time. So you get an opportunity seeing everything from development to marketing to accounting to sales to service to support. And you get to touch all those things at an early stage. Big risk, whether or not you have a passion or an appetite for risk is important, but it's a great learning experience, and it certainly was for me.
Do you think the graduating Villanova student would be well poised for a position in a technology startup in the Valley?
The last 4 years, the answer to that question is yes. The last 4 years that I've interacted with Villanovans, I've been incredibly impressed, and I call it good to go. I think when you graduate from Villanova, you have an incredibly well-rounded education. in the fundamental arts and sciences, in values, in identifying your personal self about who you are and what you want to be, as well as a discipline that is very attractive to the hiring market.
Mike, Silicon Valley is a very, very interesting place, to put it lightly. What's the role of a small startup company versus kind of larger legacy companies in the Valley? Maybe an SAP versus a new entrant.
Well, remember that companies like Facebook and Google were very small companies 10 years ago.
Right.
Somebody had an idea and a passion. They got something started. They hit on an idea. They found a market. They resonated with the marketplace, and they were able to grow a big company. So small companies are potentially big companies. But they're looking for a way to establish their brand. They're looking for a creative soft spot to enter the market. So it's always a challenge when you get started with a small business, whether or not you're going to remain small, which some people do, or whether or not you grow to be a big company.
Let's talk about the importance of innovation and creativity in an undergraduate education. Why are those important to hone in an undergraduate kind of collaborative community before you go out into the working world?
Well, it's an excellent question, and for every student that listens to this video, I would just say that it's all about problem solving. Innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship are fundamental pillars of the ability to apply those disciplines to solving problems. Whether you're a nurse, whether you're a psychologist, whether you're an engineer, whether you're an accountant, every day, every business is faced with challenges. And your ability to think them through and understand creative solutions to that is the basis for that. So I see the ICE Center and Innovation, Creativity, and Entrepreneurship as a major step forward in preparing students to enter the job market and those very challenges.
Why should every graduating business student know something about the role of IT in business?
The world is digitizing. Irrespective of the field, the fact of the matter is that technology, for good or bad, is pervasive in everything we do. I'll bet you 99.9% of every student here has a Facebook account or a Twitter account. They certainly have a mobile device. They have multiple computers. When you enter into the workforce, trust me, whether it's a customer relationship management system, an SAP system, you're going to be faced with embracing technology as a way to make you more productive. And the ability to take that technology, understand it, adapt to it, and apply it to the problem you're trying to solve is incredibly important. It's called productivity.
One of the most pervasive technologies we're seeing today is cloud computing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic trend, and it's changing business models and markets like no other. Can you comment about cloud computing?
Well, it's certainly an emerging wave of technology that is grasped and has grabbed the world by storm and has much interest. Bigger companies are looking at it. Investors and venture capitalists are looking at it. In essence, the cloud is an environment that allows small and large companies to take advantage of commodity, networking, processors, storage, and compute power, and to harness that at much less expenses and to deliver services in a very cost-effective and productive way very quickly without having to make huge capital investments in servers and networks and technology. The cloud is here today. It has been a little slower to be adopted because of things like public clouds and security and some other things that are still holding it back, and quite frankly, bigger companies assessing how they want to have the cloud impact their business. But it's a big deal.
How do you view the role of analytics shaping the future of business?
Well, we're inundated with data. With all these IT systems and with all these application systems and innovations that are plowed into a company, and as we grow, we create data. If it's not customer records or service records or product records, it's data. The challenge today is how do you harness that data and interrogate the data and get information from the data? And that's essentially analytics. And there's 1,000 different approaches to the analytical problems. But I would just say this, that anybody that is going to deal with data in their career, those that will be successful will be able to analyze what the data is telling them, look at the metrics, understand the benchmarks, and figure out what's really going on. It's a big field.
Mike, when you were a graduating senior, what things were going through your mind?
Well, for me, it was where I was going to start my career, and as I mentioned before, it was IBM. I will just say this, when I was looking at what I was going to do, as I mentioned, career planning was more of an art form than a science. But what I learned from all that is that it's very important to know yourself. And I think understanding what it is you want out of life, what it is you want as a career, what your personal value systems are, and finding the right company that fits that is very important. So my suggestion would be do your homework, understand your strengths and weaknesses, know yourself, and network a lot. Get out there, as you're doing right now, Liam. I mean, you're a senior, right? And you're out there engaging with the marketplace, trying to find the best fit for you to start your career.
And Mike, I've met you and networked with you through Villanova in the Valley. Villanova in the Valley is a 5-day professional trek to Silicon Valley where we hear from companies big and small, investors, thought leaders about what it means to live, work, and I guess kind of play in Silicon Valley and in the tech space. What has your experience been as the alumni leader of Villanova in the Valley?
Well, I've had a great time. It's been a great challenge for me to put together a meaningful program for the students. What we do is we take 15 to 17 students and faculty and we immerse them in the ecosystem that we call Silicon Valley. Everything about it, from big and small, as you mentioned, also the good and the bad. And what we try to do is give a broad exposure to the student base to a variety of disciplines, marketing, sales, accounting, venture capital, engineering, and to companies big and well-known like Google and Facebook and Apple, and companies small that you might not otherwise hear of, Climate Corporation and Boombox and others, where you have entrepreneurs starting their future. I got engaged with that 4 years ago, and this will be the third edition that we're going to do January the 6th, 2014, and we're preparing for that now, and I'd say it's a great opportunity for those that are going to attend.
Silicon Valley is a very special place. What do you think makes Silicon Valley tick? What are its most important factors?
People have often asked, what makes Silicon Valley different? Why is Silicon Valley so unique? And I have 3 or 4 reasons that I think are fundamental to this ecosystem. The first is it has a huge accumulated knowledge base going back to the late 40s and early 50s with Shockley Labs and Fairchild Semiconductor and Intel, which sort of got the valley going. So it has a tremendous knowledge base. Second, it fosters innovation and creativity. People there are looking for the next thing, whatever it is, whether it's Facebook or Google or Boombox. So you need people with a vision and a passion to do something different. They believe in something well ahead of its time and they take the risk to do it. The third is access to capital. There are literally hundreds of billions of dollars that get invested by Silicon Valley venture capitalists and private equity firms, and so it's a haven for raising money. And last and probably most important is it's a meritocracy, meaning that power and authority is earned by merit, and it's earned by accomplishment. So there is no hierarchical org chart. Sure, there's a CEO and there's a VP of sales and there's a CFO. But trust me, when you're in an engineering department, the person that's going to get ahead the fastest is the person that does the best job, innovates the quickest, and leads others. So meritocracy. So those are the basic differences in Silicon Valley. It's a little wacky. We've all heard about that, and you've seen it. You come from Silicon Valley. But it's a unique ecosystem and hard to duplicate.
You advise a number of companies and entrepreneurs. What do you try to impart upon them?
Well, that's an excellent question, and it depends a little bit on the state of the business, but
Right.
There are sort of some fundamentals that I worry about, like what are the culture and the value systems that you want to promote? Are you focused? it's easy to kind of, look at a lot of different targets, but focus on what you know, focus on cash and how you spend it, and then keep at it very hard. There's going to be some ups and downs, and so don't lose your patience.
What is it about passion in a startup that's so important?
There has to be a leader. There has to be a driving. There's three kinds of people in Silicon Valley. I think you heard this last year from John Hennessy, the president of Stanford and a 73 graduate from Villanova's engineering department. Fascinating guy. But I think he said it the best. You have visionaries, you have strategists, and you have operators or executionists. And you've got to have all three great talent to do that. If you look at founders and visionaries, they're people that well ahead of its time have an incredible passion to do something different, whether it's clean tech, whether it was Steve Jobs at Apple, whether it was Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, or Sergey Brin at Google. They had a passion well ahead of its time. They believed in it. They saw a confluence of factors that was going to make it ripe for them to bring a product to market. They took a chance and they did it, oftentimes on their own nickel and sometimes with venture capitalists. And that's what makes small companies work. You need leadership, vision, and passion. And you need a leader to do that.
Mike, you've shared a lot. What are your parting words?
For Villanovans, I would say the following three things. One, be passionate about whatever you do. Follow your dream, know yourself, and continue to foster the spirit of Villanova. Stay connected with the university. I did not for a while, and it was my loss. The fact that I've re-engaged with the university the last 4 years or so has been an incredible advantage. And so my thanks to you for this interview. My thanks to Tu and the staff here for hosting me back to Villanova, and to all the Villanova alumni and students, good luck.
Thank you, Mike.
You bet.